The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now, from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here are your hosts of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard and Taylor Welch.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for September 28th, 2025. We're almost October. I know everyone always asks the question, is it October yet? Almost. You might be actually listening to this if you waited a couple days, and it might be October, but it's not yet. It's season 15, episode number 8, and episode number 522 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And Taylor, again, we're close. We're so close to October. However, I don't think Mother Nature, and I don't know how close you are with her, but could you please knock on her door and say, hey, listen, we like some cooler weather. It was almost like, it's like 75 or 76 degrees outside. I was hanging up Halloween decorations and I'm sweating like a pig. It's horrible out there.
Yeah, it's pretty gross out, especially like this time of year when you go to races. I'm so used to bundling up and freezing in the middle of the night, and now I can show up in a t-shirt and I'm like sweating, and it's not fun.
It is really not fun. I agree with you 100%. But we are here on a Thursday. Why are we here on a Thursday? Because the Black Bears decided to sign a new assistant coach, which is like this weird secret that I've been holding from the Black Bears fans for probably the last 2 or 3 years. I think, Derek the Legend, he would probably also agree that this is something that he's had to keep quiet because John Quenneville has been a part of really training camp for the last 2 seasons, just coming in and training with the boys and working with the boys, something that we weren't really allowed to talk about, but Brant basically talked about it in his words. So they did that. And then, of course, on Saturday signing, Taylor, for Scott Ramaekers, which was interesting in itself. But we know that he was kind of waiting on his job situation. JP Morgan, a very important job. Doesn't mean he didn't get the job. I don't know. I haven't reached out to Scott yet, but I plan on doing so. But, because some guys, they work remote in some of these jobs that they get. So this might be something that Scott was able to work out. Don't know about that stuff, but, either way, he's back. So they gave us a reason to do a show today. Plus, I recorded an interview with Mason Esworthy. That helps as well.
Yeah, you're so excited about your big secret that you kept saying that today was Thursday and that we're doing a Thursday show, and it's indeed Sunday. It is Sunday.
Yes. But either way, we're here, and we're gonna talk about some things, and one of the things I really want to talk about and delve into when we get to it is really the forward situation, because the forward situation, I think, is better for the Black Bears than maybe even the last couple of years. I really, truly do believe that, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. The Power Play Post Show is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook, search Power Play Post Show, and become part of our community. Be sure to like, comment, and share our latest episodes with your friends. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net, your go-to source for stats, history, and all things Binghamton Hockey. And coming up on this episode of the Power Play Post Show from the Binghamton Black Bears, also from the Elmira College Hockey Club, he's doing a little bit of work with the D3 team. Assistant coach Mason Esworthy will be on the show. But Taylor, it's really interesting because we are literally 12 days away. I put out the Gavin Yates 12 days before the season starts. And honestly, it's going to be interesting going in there and seeing another banner getting raised. The Black Bears they got to outdo themselves from last year. I know Illuminations, Eddie Bello and his team have been already in the rink working on what they're going to do for the celebration, and just to make it pretty electrifying, I guess, to steal a term probably from Illuminations and what they do as a business. I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to see what they do and how they do it. And hopefully I can soak it in a little bit. Sometimes I'm out taking pictures and not always paying attention to everything. But I'm looking forward to opening night and really that ceremony, seeing that banner go up.
Yeah, I think soaking it in is a great word. I kind of feel like in that moment, like when everybody first starts showing up, it's all kind of hectic and crazy. And it's all like, I don't want to say brand new, but it kind of has that feeling like it's like the first day of school all over again and you've like never been kind of thing. I think part of the, trying to be even better than last year is just bringing back a good portion of the core guys and a lot of the returnees and just the major signings that they've had throughout the season. Well, through this off season. I think it's going to be another great season.
Yeah, and I know Don is expecting to be there on opening night. No, he probably won't be playing. But if you listen to the interview, he is all aboard about being there and enjoying watching the banner rise and maybe sitting in the stands and drinking beers. I don't know. That's what he said. I told him he could come up and sit with me in the press box. Doubt he'll do that. He'll probably be up in the box with Andreas Johansson instead. But it'll be interesting, and there's going to be so many returning players back to see this banner being raised, which is pretty cool. I do want to say, again, the banner is for the fans. The rings are for the players. It'll be a pretty interesting time. But let's talk about the big news, Taylor. So go into that.
So as we've already kind of mentioned, and as the Black Bears have posted earlier, the Black Bears signed John Quenneville. Quenneville is no stranger to the city of Binghamton. He spent 2 seasons in the 607 after being drafted number 30 overall in the 2014 NHL entry draft by the New Jersey Devils. In his 3 years within the Devils organization, Quenneville had 138 games played in the AHL, including being a 2-time AHL All-Star. Quenneville would make his NHL debut with New Jersey in the 2016-2017 season. In the summer of 2019, Quenneville was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks. In the 2 years spent with the Blackhawks organization, Q appeared 9 times back in the NHL level and played in 52 games with the AHL's Rockford IceHogs. After the COVID-19 pandemic, Quenneville spent 4 seasons playing with various clubs in Finland, Sweden, and Switzerland.
All right. So what's interesting about this is he has games, obviously, in the NHL. He's got games in the AHL. I think he played 42 games in the NHL. He played 138 games in the AHL, 52 games with the Rockford IceHogs. There's skill here, and there's a high-level thought process in his brain that the last couple of years in just spring in the training camp, he was able to bring out and show some of the players. I think it really helped the guys prepare and get ready for the season. Now, of course, last year they lost they beat Watertown in the first game 3-2 up in Watertown. They came back home, lost that game, but then things really kicked in. The third game down in Hudson Valley against the Venom. But Q, a lot of my conversations with Brant was like, well, we don't really want anyone to know that Q's here because Q is trying to still get jobs over in Europe. And, there's just always a perception thing that you got to worry about. And that's okay. That's fine. I completely understood that. But, he was here training, working out with the guys and helping out Brant as much as he could, which is, I think, what led really to what was coming up. Why don't you read what Brant said?
The addition of John Quenneville is not only monumental to the Black Bears organization, but the entire league. We're pretty fortunate to have a high-caliber talent like Q in our locker room. He has been helping the team and I behind the scenes for a couple of years before he headed overseas. Now to have him in our locker room more frequently is a blessing. I know he'll bring high energy and top-tier hockey knowledge to the players. And I think that's a great way to kind of sum up how this whole thing just feels. Like, to have somebody of this caliber be an assistant coach, I think is fantastic. Yeah,
exactly. So, the one thing that when I was talking to Brant about this on last Wednesday, he said that, Q said to him, I want to learn from you. And Brant has said multiple times to me in the past, and even that day, that he continues to learn stuff from John Quenneville. Now, John Quenneville, what's interesting about him is he's got a lot of not just what he's done, but also he's got family that has played at high level forms of hockey as well. So let's talk a little bit about why this is so important.
So his major junior with the WHL Brandon Wheat Kings, the NHL with the New Jersey Devils and Chicago Blackhawks. He played in the AHL with Albany and Binghamton Devils, Rockford Ice Hogs. His experience and qualifications that you usually don't see here in the FPHL. He wants to start his coaching career here in Binghamton for multiple reasons. Keeping his family in Binghamton and starting his career with Brant, who he has a close relationship. He has helped this team the last couple seasons in training camp, while himself has trained for his seasons in Europe. And as you've kind of briefly mentioned, his family relations, his brothers David and Peter Quenneville have played in the AHL, ECHL, and over in Europe. His second cousin, Joel Quenneville, is a 3-time Stanley Cup champion head coach with the Chicago Blackhawks. And his uncle by marriage, Johnny Boychuk.
Yeah, so there is, so when you hear the word Quenneville, at least for a lot of the fans that, follow, the NHL, the AHL, you're going to recognize the Quenneville name. His second cousin, Joel, is a 3-time Stanley Cup head coach with the Chicago Blackhawks. And he did that all within I think 6 or 7 years in the mid 2000s. So there is definitely a pedigree within this family that is pretty good. Now, David Quenneville played also a handful of games with the Binghamton Devils as well. So it's very familiar for the Binghamton fans to go past the FPHL and go into the AHL Devils here. I think this is just a great thing for Binghamton. Again, it's a great thing for the league. Now, the league did post Brooks's press release up onto the league website, which is good. They still haven't posted anything about Dylan Konechny. I have no idea why that was ignored. But having John Quenneville join the team overall for the league and for Binghamton is good. And I'll be honest with you, I think this is one of the signings. Mac Jansen, Bondarenko, great for the team. They're going to fill positions that were left probably by Don Oliveri, Chris Mott, maybe even some of the offense that Dakota Bond would have brought. But this is the kind of the nail in the coffin for the Black Bears to say, hey, we are 100%, 1,000% the favorites probably to win the championship before we're going in, just because they not only have the players on the ice, but they have the brains and the strategy behind the bench as well.
Yeah, I think this just goes to show another reason that Brant has created something spectacular here in Binghamton, and he keeps continuing to show that off and keeps improving on it every year, which, as everyone knows, the beginning when he first came in wasn't the greatest start, but he's definitely shown his worth here in Binghamton. Yeah,
no, 100%. And I think people just didn't understand the beginning, right? They didn't understand what he was trying to do at first. And then obviously now we know 2 cups later, and that's how you can say it now, right? The first couple months, no one understood what Brant was doing. But 2 cups later, it's okay, now we get it. A lot of people now get it. All right, so on Saturday, Scott Ramaekers re-signs with the Black Bears. Ramaekers will now enter his second full season with Binghamton. Ramaekers joined the Black Bears at the end of the 23-24 season campaign as a rookie collegiate signee out of SUNY Brockport. After only appearing in 8 games that year, Scott played in 48 games last season. In that span, he registered 17 goals, 23 assists. So I was wrong about that. He wasn't 20 goals, but damn close, including 3 game-winning goals. In the playoffs, Ramaekers appeared in all 8 postseason games. One of his 2 assists in that span came on the championship clutching goal by Zach Sirota. So think about there. Your championship game-winning goal by Zach Sirota was assisted by Scott Ramaekers. Those guys don't play on the first line. They don't play on the second line. That's a big point there. Scott becomes the 16th player to re-sign with the Binghamton for the 25-26 season. Your initial thoughts when you saw this?
I was very shocked because, we've kind of mentioned him on and off throughout this offseason, and it's been pretty quiet around him. And whether he was coming back or whether he wasn't coming back, it's been very nobody really knew. So I was very shocked, but it's also exciting because watching him, he only played 8 games that first year, but watching him grow that last season when he was, whether he was playing on just a forward or he got shoved on the defense, he played the part that he was put in. He played the role that he needed to play. And I think he showed a lot of growth last year.
Yeah, he's got some good size. And what I like about him is he makes smart decisions. You don't see him having to retrace his path or backstep at all. He usually makes pretty good decisions on the ice. And that's what I like about him. And I think that's why he can play defense as well as forward for the Black Bears, and they're very comfortable with it because of the fact that he's just smart on the ice. He makes good decisions, and where they fit him into the lineup will be interesting. I know Emerson Emery has trained because we talked to him. He's trained to be a defenseman. He's going into this upcoming season as a full-time defenseman. So do we need Scott Ramaekers on defense? Not sure, but it'll be interesting. Now, this is where I think this gets really interesting for the Black Bears. The forwards now look very tight with the returners and experience. Austin Thompson, Tyson Kirkby, CJ Stubbs. That could be your first line easily, right? Then you have Gavin Yates, Ivan Bondarenko, Mac Jansen. That could be your second line. Then you're looking at Cam Clark, Scott Ramaekers, Nick Swain. 10 forward could be Zach Sirota. And those are all returners. You would probably be very happy having those 10 guys in that lineup every single night.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I know that you had kind of mentioned about even possibly switching Gavin and Austin just for the size of Austin on that line. But even that, I don't even know if I would switch that. I understand having somebody that's bigger, always on a line kind of deal. But I don't know. I feel like maybe that small size could kind of have an edge to it. I don't know. For me, that's my lineup right there. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah.
I love Zach as the 10th forward. I think he plays that role very well. I don't know. I don't know what I would change about that, and that's what's hard.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Brant's got to go into camp next week and see. Well, first of all, does Bondarenko and Mac Jansen play well together? Do they play well together with Gavin Yates? Maybe Zach Sirota sits, somewhere up on the third line and someone bounces down to the 10th forward. I'm not really sure. And I don't want to be Brant to have to make that decision because you also have 3 other forwards that you signed. New signees, Zachary Desmarais, Tim Kim, who I know Brant is very high on, and then Jacob Shankar as well. So you have those 3 forwards to go with what you already have, which is 10 guys that are not all 10 are returners. I apologize. Bondarenko and Mac Jansen obviously played in the SPHL, but those guys are proven vets, proving pros that have already played at a high level. Mac Jansen's won a championship with Roanoke. So you really do have a lot of forwards that's your lineup right there. And then those 3 new signees, it's going to be tough for them to get in. Now, again, I do want to say that until the end of October, you can have 22 guys in the lineup. So that helps. It keeps some of those guys, gives them the ability to have some playing time, right? They can get in to a couple games before the end of October, and Brant can really see what they're made of. So I think this is a great thing for the Black Bears. And I got to be honest, for the rest of the league, how are you going to beat that? What are you going to put in there that's going to beat this lineup right there?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't even know. I do think that, Brant's probably already thinking about what he's going to do and the moves he's got to make, because obviously there has to be some. But I think he already kind of has that in his mind. He offered Watertown a player already to kind of make sure that he has a better chance at playing, because Brant was pretty much like, it's probably not going to happen for us.
Yeah.
So I do kind of like that aspect where I feel like Brant is very open and honest in the terms of what he's looking for and what he wants, but he's also going to try his hardest to make sure that whatever player he has to get like let go of ends up somewhere that they can play and kind of maybe push their career forward where they probably wouldn't have had that ability in Binghamton.
Or do you, and this is just a thought here, I'm just thinking out loud, do you somehow package up something good to bring in another top level defenseman, right? You know, you have a couple guys that maybe you could trade, that you could bring in somebody. Now, Brant doesn't normally do that. See, that's just it, though. Brant doesn't usually bring in guys from other teams or other FPHL guys. What he has done, and you can go back and look at it, he's almost always brought in, other than I think Dale Dion, he's basically brought in guys that either are brand new, like, you know, Zachary and Tim and Jacob are, or he's brought in guys from the SPHL or ECHL like Don and CJ Stubbs, guys like that. It'll be interesting to see if he makes a trade for them or helps them get onto other teams, if he needs to.
Yeah, it's always interesting to kind of watch that unfold. I always love watching throughout the year, watching teams kind of release players and seeing the other teams if they pick them up or not. But almost every time that Binghamton releases somebody, they are picked up almost instantly, and it always just makes me laugh kind of on the inside. Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna see Uturo back. He's going to be playing with the Watertown Wolves, so he'll be back. We'll see him. Jake Schultz will be on that team in Watertown. We'll preview that in a couple Thursdays just before the season starts, what that Watertown Wolves team will look like. Justin Coachman will be the coach. Jake Schultz will be on defense. Kyle Powell will be on defense. Let's see here. Andrew Uturo will be one of the forwards, and I think he'll be up there. Darian Benchik, who was just traded there. So Watertown will look a little familiar just because some of those players played here in Binghamton. And who knows? Maybe somebody else will be moved there. I think it'd be smart for Brant to maybe not move too many guys to Watertown, just because we don't need them to come back and burn us. But listen, with these 10 forwards that we just mentioned, I think this team legitimately has an easy chance now, and especially with Q as the assistant coach, Mason Esworthy as an assistant coach, working on some different things than what Q will be working on. I think this team now, not talking about the defense or even the goaltending, right? We'll leave that side we'll talk about that in the future here. But just looking at that, I think easily this team is winning 40 games plus again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I hardly disagree with anything that you say. You and I usually kind of have the same viewing points when it comes to certain stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be we're going to be raising another banner soon, but at least that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want to say wishful thinking because I don't feel like it's that far-fetched, to be honest.
Well, I just don't think any mistakes have been made yet, right? Like, I can't look at this offseason and go, oh, Brant shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? I just haven't seen that kind of moment yet. And again, I'm not trying to, butter him up or make him happy, but that's just the way I see it. Like for instance, let's talk about Port Huron and Danbury, right? Now, Port Huron just recently posted, hey, in 13 or 14 days, first game, right? And that first game is going to be in Danbury where Ben Brockway planted the flag. He puts the flag down, and of course that's at the end, and it's kind of disrespectful because they did it in Danbury. And they used that to promote that this game is coming up. To me, it's like, okay, you guys want to get involved in that heated rivalry with Danbury. Danbury will fight back. They will. That's just who they are. Binghamton fans know it. But I love the fact that for once, Binghamton's not involved in that kind of drama.
Oh, yeah, it's great to just sit back and kind of watch it unfold on somebody else's, fan page or
social media,
hockey club in general. Yeah. Well, I'm sure it'll start with the fan base soon. I'm sure that'll get going pretty good.
But again, it's like there's not drama right now around the Black Bears. Last year there wasn't a lot of drama unless they were in Danbury. and trying to put Dylan Konecki in handcuffs, which is funny because now there's a whole T-shirt line for free Dylan, which is pretty funny. So listen, Quenneville, Scott Ramaekers. I think the only other thing that could really change the dynamics of this forwards is if Don says, "Hey, I'm returning," and they make a trade and bring Don, back in. Otherwise, this is a pretty good forward lineup to go into the first part of the season.
Yeah, I think if, just kind of looking back at the forwards, if Don did end up returning, I feel like in that sense, I'd put Don on the first line and I would put Austin on the second line for sure.
So, but that would be weird too, right? Because
it would be, but
so you put Austin where Gavin is, right? And then Don where Austin was. Where do you put Gavin?
That's the hard part. This is why I'm really happy not to be Brant. I'm telling you, I could not do this ever. I would have such a difficult time trying to figure this out, but I love the way that Don plays. So you could put, I've never watched Bondarenko or Jansen, so I don't know if they're speedy or if they're, because Gavin is very speedy. We know that.
Yes.
So if they're, you could possibly put Don on that line because Don, he doesn't like to move that fast on the ice. I mean, he's so fun to watch for that reason.
Right.
He, everybody else is skating their hearts out and he's usually just kind of out there. It's just a regular day for him.
Don, if you're listening to this, Taylor says you're slow. Taylor's saying you're slow. That's not me. But he does. He
doesn't need to be fast, though. He plants himself on that blue line and can shoot a puck, and it's going to hit that net. Yeah. Whether it goes in or not is a different story. But
and you remember,
I'm always so shocked when he slaps a shot down to that net. 'Cause I'm like, nobody else can do that. I have yet to see somebody else from the blue line shoot a puck like that.
Yeah. Well, he's got that high level skill. I mean, playing here in Binghamton, that's what you're getting this upcoming season as well with CJ and Bondarenko and Jansen. These are guys that could be playing in the SPHL and even probably playing in the ECHL. They're going to be playing down here, and that's the way Don was as well. It'll be interesting. So, I don't know. I don't want to say, well, hopefully we don't have to deal with that, but because I love Don, and don't get me wrong about that. It's just, I don't know. Brant, I don't envy you having to make this.
Him?
I do not envy him having to make those decisions. I really don't. I just, I'm not jealous. I don't even want to have to do it. Because it'd be hard. These are all great guys and great players. And, that's just the way it is. All right, let's get into the interview now with Mason Esworthy, assistant coach. And he and I talk about his what he's going to be doing with Elmira, what he's going to be doing here in Binghamton, what he did over the summertime, and what he's got going on in the future. So coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show is my interview with Mason Esworthy. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Talked to this gentleman last year where I figured I'd bring him back. He's going to be a part of the Binghamton Black Bears coaching staff and continue to assist and probably really more so help himself grow as a coach, as he's also going to be the Elmira College's club hockey team men's coach, and he's going to help out obviously Brant Sherwood here in Binghamton for a second straight season. He is Mason Esworthy. Mason, welcome back to the show. It's great to talk to you and to have you back on. And I know you just came from Binghamton back to Elmira because you're still finishing up your college degree. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you got a lot on your plate right now, helping Binghamton trying to create and start a brand new club team for Elmira College, which already has a lot of hockey going on for it right now. And and doing very well. The D3 men's and women's programs are doing really well, and I know you're part of helping to coach them. You got a lot on your plate right now.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me back, and I'm excited to get this season underway on Monday. But yeah, so you mentioned I was just in Binghamton today. I graduated from Elon in May, and now I'm getting my master's in business from Binghamton. So 2 days a week I drive from Elmira to Binghamton, take those classes, and then drive the whole way back. So a lot of time there on 86 has been spent listening to the show and calling family and stuff like that. But yeah, at Elmira, like you mentioned, we're starting a brand new club team. I got hired here in March, and our first full season will be next year. So just a lot of recruiting for me this year. Trying to be competitive next year and play schools from all over New York and the UNYCHL. So that'll be something really cool. And then, like you mentioned, helping out the Division III team as well, who look to have a good year. Lost a lot of scoring last year, but hopefully have some young guys that are ready to step up and make us competitive again.
For people who don't know, because a lot of attention when it comes to Elmira hockey has always been on the pro teams, being there, not being there, Robbie Nichols, and, just the whole, the pro team's there, and they went from ECHL, then they went to the Fed. There's always been a lot of attention on the pro team, but there's been a lot of collegiate hockey. There's been junior hockey. I know the Binghamton Buzz moved out to Elmira. There's junior hockey. There's a lot of hockey outside of pro hockey that has been very good for Elmira, the college, and just the surrounding area. Can you talk a little bit about what you've experienced so far about the culture of hockey in Elmira?
Yeah, I mean, hockey is king here, or queen. So, like I said, or like you mentioned, Elmira College has the Division III men's team and the Division III women's team. Yep. Both nationally ranked for the most part. The women founded in 2002. They've won 3 national championships. They have 30 plus All-Americans. The player of the year every year is named after an Elmira graduate. So that's pretty awesome. And then the men's, same thing, founded in the mid 70s. Never won a national championship, but tons and tons of conference championships. 30 plus All-Americans.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's really good hockey history here just at the college. And around town, like you said, plenty of teams, all levels, kind of like Binghamton there, and professional ranks. And then we actually have 4 junior teams in town. So we have an NAHL team, the NA3 Buzz, like you mentioned, over from Binghamton, who moved here. Yeah. And then the Elmira Impact are USPHL teams, and we have 2 of them as well. So 7 hockey teams in this small little town, but yeah, people are obsessed with it. And I'm excited to be here at the Domes for the first D1 game or D3 game when we play Hobart, who's national championships in a row. So I'm sure that the rink will be packed for that, and I bet it'll be the same vibes as we'll have on Black Bears opening night when we raise that banner. So it's those are 2 games that I'm really excited for coming up in the next month.
Yeah, why do you think it is that maybe the pro scene has kind of gone away in Elmira, but so much of the amateur and the collegiate has prospered over the years in Elmira? Why do you think Elmira has accepted and done well with those, but maybe not so much with the pro side? Because you've worked with pro teams before, Roanoke and Binghamton, so you understand that concept. But now you're seeing how well and how receptive people are in that area to the collegiate and the junior game. Why do you think there is something missing with the people being able to connect with a pro team and helping make it successful?
It's an excellent question. In terms of here at the college teams, I think that overall college in your town is something more that you can connect with, and the men's team founded in the mid 70s has been top notch, and it's something that families pass down. You grew up going to Elmira College games, where the pro teams have kind of bounced around, like you said, in and out, different teams. Mm-hmm. So I think kind of from the beginning there, just unable to make a really meaningful connection because different leagues, different ownerships, all that sort of stuff, where, all the junior teams, since they've moved in, they've had the same owners. They've, had kids come back multiple times around. And so I think it's, it's easier to connect to something that your family can connect to. And, EC has been consistent in that in men's and women's. So I think that's why the following's so big. And then even youth hockey here is pretty big. I mean, there's, a good little youth program. And then the Aviators, which is the NAHL team, has AAA U16 and U18 program. So awesome. Like I said, hockey is the thing to do here, and they make it pretty obvious when you get up here.
All right. So we know that in Binghamton, there's Riverbend, which used to be the Polar Cap or Shenango Ice Rink. There's the BCC Ice Center. I think Griffin Park still has their rink, or they'll at least they'll get it up. There's the one out at the farm. And of course, obviously the arena out in Elmira. How many different rinks are there for the teams to play on?
So the answer of in Elmira, the town, is one, where the
First Arena.
Mammoth and all them. Yeah. First Arena.
Yeah.
So in First Arena is the Aviators, which is the NA3 team, or sorry, the NA team. And then the Buzz, which is the NA3 team. And then out here, think we're technically in Horseheads.
Sure.
Is us. So all three Elmira College teams, Division III men, Division III women, and club, and then one of the Elmira Impact. I believe it's the premier USPHL team, and then out about halfway between here and Ithaca. Yeah. Is where the USPHL elite team plays. So the answer of Elmira, how many rinks are in Elmira is one, but how many rinks, are easy to skate out around here? 3 at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of like in Binghamton as well, right? Because the BCCI Center is kind of really more in the town of Shenango. And then, of course, Shenango Bridge is where obviously Riverbend is. But it's good to know that they have, 3-4-ish rinks for that area to kind of collectively, be able to supply rink time for these teams. Your club team, where is going to be the home team? Where are you guys going to play?
Yeah, we're going to play here, Murray Athletic Center, the MAC, the Domes, which is it's a rink where the D3 teams practice. It's actually owned by. It's a little complicated, but it's operated and owned by Elmira College. It's really cool. Like I said, out in Horsehead, so about 15 minutes away from campus. But yeah, if you've never had the chance to come here, even just look it up. It's really unique. It's one of the cooler rinks I've seen. It's called the Domes because there's 3 domes that come out of the ground. Mm-hmm. We've got obviously the hockey rink and then all that stuff in one, and then a basketball court, obviously indoor, an indoor basketball court. And upstairs on that, a full gym. We've got batting cages, pitching mounds, our nationally ranked cheer team practices there. And then in the third dome, it's 4 indoor tennis courts where a lot of our spring sports can practice inside before, when it's still a little bit chilly outside. So in our lacrosse team, our baseball team practices out here a lot too. So yeah, it's really a unique thing, and I'm excited to see how loud it gets because it's literally just same thing. Hasn't been renovated since the 70s really that much. So it's loud and it's compact.
Cool. You've obviously worked for Coach Brenner. You've worked for Coach Sherwood, and now you have to recruit yourself for getting players to build this club team because you really want to build this up and hopefully within a year really have a really good solid team or a solid program. Let's look at it that way. How much more do you appreciate what those two coaches have tried to teach you and the kind of work that they have to do now that you have started recruiting yourself? Because I think that one of the toughest jobs in all of minor pro hockey, and probably also in what you're going to be doing for Elmira College, is the recruiting process, right? How much more do you appreciate what those two guys have to do, have taught you to do, and what you have to do now based on the fact that recruiting is probably the hardest thing to do?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, recruiting is the hardest thing to do, right? Especially, I have a bigger appreciation for that now. You don't really realize it, how much their time is truly spent on recruiting and trying to convince players to come to your, whether that's pro team, university, anything like that. For me, I think of another level because, I'm recruiting anything from, U18 AA to junior A in Canada in high school, USBHL, EHL, anything in between. So, a lot of kids, especially out of high school, have all these, good club teams, kind of nipping at them, but then also junior teams and all that stuff. So, really trying to, convince students or potential students that this is the place to be. And they've made it really easy on me here to, set myself up to have success recruiting. We have amazing facilities. We're treated, like a Division III team, really, in terms of, our locker room, our gear that we get, all that sort of stuff. So they don't make it too difficult on me to recruit. So, I gotta close the deal. But, especially, like I said, you don't really realize how much recruiting there truly is. And it's year round, right? Like, yeah. Even during the season, Brant and Brims are still, pushing, guys, potential free agents or anything like that to come and play there. So same thing here, during the season and summers, it's phone calls, emails, texts. It's trying to get our name out there and trying to sell ourselves.
What's the selling point? What if I told you, okay, you hockey players or the hockey program and the college is your car and you're a used car salesman and you got to get these players to come in, what is the selling point? What is the thing that you think can put you over the edge and get those players to come here about Elmira?
Yeah, so I got a few of them. So I think the number one overall thing is just the history, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, a historically top 25 Division III program in both men's and women's. And just hockey is in the town as a whole. Like we've said, 7 teams right now, multiple pro teams, a few NHL players from Elmira, Johnny Beecher of the Bruins right now. So this is a hockey town, right? And then additionally, the school really cares about athletes. We have around 20 sports here, some national championships, like I mentioned. So this is a school that very much values athletics. Yeah. They treat everyone really well. And like I mentioned, we're treated as a Division III team, right? Like we, get our practices, or my team has their own locker room. I have my own office. We get, all the CCM stuff that our varsity team wears. Nice. So I think that, the selling point is, why wouldn't you come here? And we also have a great relationship with that Division III team. So as I mentioned, I'm helping them out a little bit, assistant. And that sort of thing. So we have that relationship, and there's always an open opportunity for our players to advance up there if they want as well. So I think that we're treated well. It's a respectable place, and it's beautiful up here. I mean, who wouldn't want to live here? Yeah, no, we'll see how I feel about that when it gets really cold. But
yeah, let's be honest. People may complain about this part of upstate New York, and I'll do the triangle, right, between Binghamton up to Syracuse, from Syracuse down to maybe Ithaca, and then down to Elmira, right? It's like a triangle if you kind of cheat on the one angle, and but it's still kind of like a triangle, and people will say, it's just boring. But it's not. There are a lot of great aspects about upstate New York and that central part of New York in the upstate area that is just great to be here. I mean, in going to college, whether it's at Syracuse or in Binghamton University where you're getting your master's, or out in, Elmira College, or in Cornell, there's a lot of great stuff for college kids to learn and do and to be around. And so many come here for the college experience, and then in some cases stay and work here, raise their families here. So people say all the time, well, maybe that's because you're from Binghamton and you've never left and gone anywhere else. But this is still a nice place to be.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, that's also, my selling point. I actually had a kid a few days ago. I was on a call, and he said, so, I'm looking at a map. Is Elmira really in the middle of nowhere? And I'm
it is. It's great.
Yes, but at the same time, no, right? Like, yeah, I think you can get anywhere that you really want to go within 4 hours. Yeah. Bing's an hour away. Upstate Syracuse, not too far. Rochester, not too far. Even, New York City, 4 hours, maybe. I've made it in 3 and 15, so it's really not bad at all.
You can go. You can like go. I said, you can go fast.
Yeah, anywhere that you really want to go. Here you can make it in a day. So it's also its own little community here, and we've got walking Glen, which is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
The Finger Lakes and all that stuff. Oh. So if you put yourself out there and you want to find stuff to do, you can find stuff to do, no problem. 100%.
And again, like you said, in 4 hours, you can be in a big city, the biggest city in, really the country. So you can certainly do that. And plus, if you go into Pennsylvania, there's so much to do because Elmira and Binghamton are so close to the PA border that you're able to just there's a lot to do. It's a great selling point, and I think we've done enough to probably sell upstate and central New York now, because there are a lot of great things to do here. So obviously, you have a lot of things on your plate, and of course, it seems like sometimes that's just the way it is with people who are trying to make it in hockey. Because if you think about it, if you look at anybody in the back office and you've seen it in Roanoke and you've seen it, and obviously in Binghamton, where one person doesn't do just one job, they do multiple jobs. So I think you have the mindset of already, all right, I can do my master's, I can start a club team, and I can help out Brant Sherwood and the Binghamton Black Bears this upcoming season. And I can help out the D3 team as well. So I don't know how you have a social life outside of that, but that's okay. What kind of help are you going to be providing again this year for the Binghamton Black Bears?
Yeah, so, actually being up here and, like I said, an hour away, taking my classes there, I'll probably be, at the rink 2 to 3 practices a year, which, I only made it to 3 or 4 last year. 2 to 3 practices a week.
Right.
Before school and stuff like that. So I'll be able to do that. And then, looking a lot more, my kind of specialty in Roanoke when I was around a lot was a lot of video and analytical stuff. So my degree from Elon is business analytics. So, I call myself an Excel wizard. So that's kind of like where I nerd out in terms of hockey is numbers and watching video. And then, also I've done a little bit with Brant this summer in terms of, looking at potential players and stuff like that. So, you'll see where I can fill gaps in this coaching staff and, what Brant will give me and any projects like that I can do. But yeah, really just, trying, like I said, fill in the gaps and seeing where I can help out and, hopefully take this team to a three-peat.
Yeah, that would be great. I would be okay with that. As a podcaster and covering, obviously, the Black Bears, having 2 championship runs to cover has been very good. So I'm happy with anybody that wants to chip in and help with that. Tell the fans a little bit about analytics, especially in hockey. I know you caught a lot of video. You talked about Excel spreadsheets. Tell me what you pull from the video and put into the spreadsheets that Brant can use to help make the team a little bit better. Talk a little bit about that relationship between video and what goes into the Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, so there's a few different answers. Obviously, video I think is the easiest way to learn. If you see what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong, I think it's easy to translate that. But in terms of analytics, looking at which players, create the most chances together, who takes the most advantage of their time on the ice in certain situations, expected goals, expected chances, and then something on the other side of the ice, right? Like where who's a little defensively weaker, and if you can put someone who's defensively weaker, in your own zone and put them with someone who kind of prides themselves on being a defensive forward or defensive defenseman, offensive defenseman, that sort of thing. So I think a lot of it comes to line matchups, especially whether that's internally with your own team or if that's scouting another team that you're about to play. So I think that's kind of where I look more at it, but there's so many, different deep dives that you can do. The NHL has a public website now that's called NHL Edge. You can literally jump into it and spend hours on it, just like looking at different, player speeds. You can see like where the hot zones are on different goalies and that sort of thing. So, I'm sure if I had a little more time, I could, dive a little bit more into where goals are scored from, where shots are created from. But so that's, something that is, the dream obviously is to be an NHL head coach. But, that's something that I think is an up and coming in the industry is straight, analytical coaching and video coordinating. So that would be something that I think is pretty realistic for myself. And I could see myself really like adapting or excelling there.
Well, let me ask you this question, right? You were the video coach last year. Don Oliveri spent a lot of time on the top line with Austin Thompson and Tyson Kirkby, right? He was on the right wing. And then at some point with about 3 or 4 weeks left in the season, he made a switch and he put CJ Stubbs from the right wing on the second line with Kyle Steffen and Gavin Yates, and he switched the two. What was the advantage of switching the two and everything? Because Don has a great shot. I think CJ has a great shot at times. Depends on where he is on the ice. I think they both make good decisions. What did you see in video, or what did you see that made sense to switch those two guys?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I think I've obviously seen Stubbsy play for years and years now with his time in Roanoke.
Yep.
And I think that he just, Don, obviously, like you said, really physical, great shot. I think CJ kind of, brings a little bit more playmaker ability to, that first line with Tomer and Kirkby. I think Tomer, he's obviously got one of the better shots in the league, and Kirkby's got, Kirkby's probably the best player in the league. So you put someone with them who has the ability to be a top-notch playmaker. And I think you really just saw them kind of, there's obviously growing pains and stuff like that. We kind of just saw him take it to a next level. And that's obviously, nothing against Don. I mean, and you put Don with Yatesy and Yatesy's speed and his ability to get Don the puck, and, Don can finish with the best of them. So I think that change, really just added a whole nother level to both of those lines.
So it was really about matching up the right guy on that right side with the right line, because again, like you were saying, CJ is going to set up the other two a little bit better than maybe Don was. And then honestly, the great thing is Kyle Steffen was a complete player. He could do a little bit of everything, but Gavin was so good with his speed and his skating ability that he was able to dump off the puck to people. And people, I know fans would argue and say to me all the time, oh, Gavin just hogs the puck. And I'm like going, dude, you have no idea. You got to watch what Gavin does, because he cuts angles and he skates so smoothly, and then he drops the puck so beautifully sometimes. When you needed a goal, I felt this way about Gavin last year. When the team needed a clutch goal, he didn't always score the clutch goal. He was always a part of making that clutch goal happen. Kyle Steffen was probably second on that list of making that happen as well when you needed it. Not necessarily, they didn't score all the goals, but they scored a lot of very important goals during the season. And that's something you can watch if you really just watch these guys. And I sit up at the press box and I see them all the time, and I'm probably getting the same kind of view that you do in video, but you could watch those two guys and they just knew when to drop the puck off to somebody else.
Yeah, they're both unbelievably smart players. And, Steph's a true definition of a 200-foot guy. He'll do anything for the team. And, he was unbelievable to be around last year, and obviously a really important part of that championship team. And then Yatesy was, he's an MVP for a reason. There's not many better than him in the league. But he knows his role. Like you said, if he needs to score, he can score. But he's an unbelievable playmaker. He's got eyes everywhere. And he's a wonder to watch play. I mean, you just get you sometimes you look at him, you get back to the bench, you're like, how'd you even see that guy? How'd you do that? He just laughs at you. But yeah, I mean, both those two were obviously very integral parts of that team last year.
Yeah, obviously Steph is not coming back. He retired, and what a great conversation I had with him about that. It's still one of my favorite ones that I had this year. Can you tell me a little bit about Mac Jansen? What can you tell the Binghamton fans about this guy? By the way, he wore number 13 up in with Roanoke. So I wonder if he'll wear 13, Don's number, this upcoming year. We'll see. Obviously, he's got great numbers from what I can see in the 290 games he's played in the SPHL. 107 goals, 128 assists for 235 points. But can you tell me a little bit about his style of play? What we should expect from Mac Jansen?
Yeah, so I'll start with his number thing. I thought I saw on Facebook he was going to wear 94. I was like, Mac, what are you doing?
But yeah, really?
Joy, I don't know how true that is. So,
okay.
Quote me on that. But he's joining all the Northern dogs up here. So, Janny's an unbelievable player, man, and he was our captain for 3 years. He's led us to a championship, the first ever one down in Roanoke. Scored the game winner in overtime. He's the goal scorer. He's a clutch. He's probably the most clutch guy I've ever seen. Obviously, would you say 235 points in 290 games?
Yeah.
he was top 10 in the league in the SP in scoring last year, and all that. He's an unbelievable leader. Like I said, I guess he was captain for 2 years and then assistant for 2 years. So he's a big leader from the top down. He'll speak up when he needs to speak up. But he's a big lead by example guy. He's a good playmaker, but he's unbelievable at finding the back of the net. Nicest guy ever. And I'm really excited to have him up here. And be able to be around him another year, because he's someone that I think I value my relationship with him a lot, and someone who I think not only will make this team better, but I think someone that the fans can really get around, and he has an unbelievable personality. So like I said, excited to be around him for another year.
What is it about Binghamton and Brant and Roanoke? There is a special, I think, connection a little bit. Brant, I think, is still beloved down in Roanoke. People really like him down there. I know when the Blue Ridge series happened, a lot of people from Roanoke, a lot of the team went down to visit and to watch Brant coach and watch the Black Bears and everything. What is it about that relationship? Because it seems like you still have a great relationship with Roanoke as well.
Yeah. It's an unbelievable, little connection that the Black Bears and really Brant, and it has formed down there with Roanoke and with Brems.
Yeah.
But I probably shouldn't expose too many of either team's secrets, but Brant, I think, got a lot of what he learned in coaching, and he would tell you this from Roanoke and from Bremner. And I think it's really unique, kind of the thing that they have for him there, having Stubbs and Janney, and then, in Roanoke, Anderson, and then Anderson came to Binghamton, then went back to Roanoke for a weekend, and, having that relationship there, where, Brems can give Brand a call if he really needs a player, like we had Kirkby for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think they're pretty similar run organizations, to be honest with you. They're both, top notch in their leagues, from ownership down to coaching to different players. The city, I think, is both equally obsessed, with their team, which is, something that I, was surprised about, in terms of both. So Roanoke's, entering their 10th year with the team now this year. Mm-hmm. And Bremner's been there for 7.5, I want to say. So, he's very respected in the industry, I believe, in minor league hockey. And I think that, a lot of what Brant, kind of has had, has, come from Brant or from Brems. And, you add just names to that list. And, now Stanko's gotten into coaching official today. He'll be, coaching into Adrian. So I think between those two that they have similar systems, and it's really easy for players to adjust and adapt, from system to system there, because they're so similar. And even, in terms of practice, really not identical, I'm not going to say, but, you go to their practices and you see a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Stanko going into coaching as well. Obviously, there's the connection and relationship, obviously, with Binghamton and Roanoke. So that is amazing for Stanko, who is very much a highly talented guy. And I know a couple of injuries probably plagued him just a little bit for his playing career. Mason, what is your goal for this upcoming season, whether it be Elmira, Binghamton, or whether Brems calls you and says, hey, I need you to look at some video for me? What is your kind of like goal for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, at Elmira for the club team, it's, to put together a highly competitive team for next year and a pretty good league. In Division II and Division III last year, out of the league that we'll play in, the national championship team was a member of. So, we want to be competitive immediately. So that starts with recruiting and building upon kind of what we've started here. For the Division III team, we're looking at, we're in a new league here. So looking at winning that, looking at improving, every year we want to improve, right? They lost some big score, and they lost Ryan Riefler, who's in Roanoke actually now, Chance Gorman, who's in Fayetteville. So they lost their 3 leading scorers, I want to say. So, just finding new roles for guys. And like I said, winning the league in your first year here. And then, in Binghamton, the obvious answer is go back to back to back. It's kind of the expectation now, right? But at the same time as do that, like I said, I want to, find a little bit more new role for myself there in Binghamton too, and see where I can fit in. Being able to be up here full time. And then, for myself, between, 3 of those jobs really just, advance myself in coaching and take everything, and keep it in my mind. Because while there is a lot going on, like you said, and I keep myself busy, it's all stuff that I could totally, see myself doing in the future. And I've got, 2 great coaches that I'm working with, and Brant and Sully, and then, a little bit with Bremner down in Roanoke as well. And I think, same thing with those guys. They want to be the best. And, they're losing, a lot of scoring there with Janny and then Nick Ford and Tommy Minicello going over to Jeremy. So it's a lot of same thing, guys finding new roles and things like that. So
do you think Brems called up Brant and said, "You're taking one of my players? Really?
No.
What are you doing?"
I don't think that's how that conversation went. It's a little funny conversation because I guess I'd say it's a similar situation what happened with Stubbs.
Yeah.
Both towards maybe the tail ends of their career and what better way to spend what better place to spend when you're looking at winding it down and up here and being able to hang out with your buddies and like I said, Stubbs was already here, so I'm sure it made it easier for Janny. But then also being able to be coached by someone who you played with, I think is something really unique. I think Brant has a really great relationship with all those guys, so I'm excited that Janny is here.
Well, I hope to get to talk to you again during the season, and I'll get you on so we can find out how everything's going in Elmira, how everything's going in Binghamton, at least in your view, because of course I'll have a bird's eye view of pretty much everything that's happening at the arena, which will be good. But I'd love to get your opinion on things, and just really appreciate you coming back on and kind of like telling your story, because that's one of the beautiful things that we do here on the show is we try to, let players, coaches, people just tell their story, just based on some silly questions that I ask, which is great. And you've done such a great job. And, it's really nice to kind of like follow the beginning of your career a little bit here. And I hope you come back on.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And I look forward to being back on, pretty soon. And I'll see you next week a little bit in Binghamton. And
I'm glad we can give you some content for the drive, because I know the drive can be a good hour. So, driving here, listen some, and then finish up the show on the way home, which is pretty cool. Mason, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. That was Mason Esworthy, assistant coach. It's almost perfect timing, right? I planned out the interview before Wednesday. I get a call from Brant. Brant says John Quenneville is joining the team as an assistant coach. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be talking tomorrow with Mason Esworthy on Thursday. Recorded that, and now you guys are getting to hear that interview. And now we have Quenneville coming in. So I cannot wait to talk to John Q as well at some point during this season, just get his thoughts on everything that Brant has kind of built here in Binghamton. As somebody who's kind of like from the outside looking in, it'll be interesting to see what Q's thoughts are on that. Now, this upcoming week on the Power Play Post Show, we will look completely at the roster coming into camp, which forwards, defensemen, netminders who might get looks at a higher league. And we will also bring you the 5 things that we are looking forward to this upcoming season, and the 5 things that we are not looking forward to this upcoming season. And I stole this from the Hockey Guy, if you know who the Hockey Guy is, and I know a few people out there like Gary Ryan from the Fed League Flash, who absolutely loves the Hockey Guy. He does this as well. He does it 15 things, and there's like 5 on the top, 5 on the bottom, and then 5 in the middle. We're just doing 5 things that we're looking forward to, 5 things that we're not looking forward to. So that'll be interesting. That'll be this upcoming Thursday, and I will hopefully have a player guest as well. That's what I'm planning on, and we'll see if I can get those guys. I know the guys are kind of busy coming into camp, so maybe I don't want to interrupt them too much, but we'll see if the one particular guy that I want to get on will come on. Taylor, we have, when we wake up on Monday morning and people are listening to the show primarily, getting their week started, there's going to be 11 days left. And, I'm ready for it. I think I'm ready. I think I've got most everything set up and ready to obviously provide the best coverage that anybody does for the Black Bears, which is the Power Play Post Show, you and I. But it'll be interesting to see, as we get closer, like, am I really ready? I don't know.
I think that I'm more than ready. I'm kind of excited to kind of watch everything come in and settle into like the next couple months.
Yeah.
Because it always seems, like the first couple games, it always, it's hectic, it's crazy, everyone's getting used to things again. And then it all of a sudden seems to just like fall into place where everything seems normal again. Everything's back to normal. Everyone's, back together. It's just, I don't know. It just reminds me of a big family all over again.
Tell people what you're going to be looking for from the guys on the ice when it comes to deciding on the impact players this year.
Truthfully, just things that kind of maybe most fans wouldn't really pay attention to or maybe might have missed. I know a lot of the times it's always, who scored the biggest goal or who got the most goals or that kind of thing. But for me, it's, what guy made that happen? Who was the guy that made the play that allowed that to happen kind of thing? I just kind of like looking outside of, the big goal scorers. Because we all know, like Tyson, he's, he always gets those, fun goals. I mean, maybe we'll get another, butt shot this year. That was always good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I kind of like looking at people that might get overlooked and just seeing like what they bring to the team and kind of getting the fans, more hyped for the players that might not be at the top of your list.
Well, one of the guys that you did that with last year was Zach Sirota. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he was one of the guys that had a lot of good plays that maybe didn't get rewarded with goals or assists all the time, but he was out there doing things, and you pointed him out a lot.
Yeah, he was very good at screening a goalie and just kind of being that annoying little nuisance right in front of you that, the other defensive men on the other team are trying to get him out of the way. So you got 2 guys tied up trying to get him out of the way. You have a goalie who can't see. So he's tying up 3 people right there. And he did that job very well. And at the end of the whistle, he skated off like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect kind of way to play that role.
And it drives people nuts. Now, Austin's good at being in front of the net, doing the same thing. Same thing with Tyson Kirkby. We see them. I know Cam Clark has played in front of the net as well, but it was so nice to see someone like Zach Sirota get in there and do the same type of thing. And he's so much smaller than the guys I just mentioned that it's just like, I think it annoys the defensemen on the other team so much. It frustrates them that he is such a pest and he's in there. I mean, he got the nickname the Rat from Brant, and he plays the role really well.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that you brought up Austin, because watching him last year, I realized, like, at least from my perspective, he seems like he's the one guy on the ice that takes an absolute beating game after game after game because he's in front of the goalie. And he just gets up and goes back to the bench like nothing happened. And he does it game after game. Like, there are times where I'm like, how? Like, he just keeps getting knocked down and keeps getting pummeled, basically. And he just gets up and goes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's unbothered by what the other team is doing to him. And I don't know how he does it.
It's also the reason why Brant pulled him away from being in front of the net all the time, because 2 years ago he was like that. Last year he started off the season playing a lot in front of the net, and then he brought him up to the bumper position, which allowed him to not get beat up as much. Because you're right, I mean, it was game after game after game after game, Taylor, that Austin was just getting knocked down, beat up, just pushed around, doing his job very, very well, right? And also getting those goals that it's a tip in. It goes off of his stick from someone else trying to send it towards the goal, he tips it in or whatever. Kirkby, when he's in front of the net, what does he do? He gets all those dirty, greasy goals. When he was up in ECHL, those are the type of goals that he got. These are the guys that work so very hard in front of the net, doing the stuff that other players maybe just don't have the mental fortitude to do, right? But these guys do, because you do take a beating game after game after game. And it was nice because they were able to put Zach in there, and Zach was willing to do that pretty much day for day. Defensively, is there somebody on the team that really kind of stood out to you last year that you will also be kind of looking forward to that kind of play for the Impact players this year?
I mean, pretty much all of them, to be honest. I mean, Dan Stone, he's very quiet when he does things. And even he was starting to get goals last year, I think. Yeah. And it's weird to say because he was already a good defenseman, but he's improved a lot with his play. And he protects the goalie very well. And he does it very quietly. And I think part of that kind of gets unnoticed because, you know, he had Dakota Bond as a partner, who's, you know, probably a very flashy defensive-man in a good way. Like, I'm not saying that negatively in any way. Right. But he's out there and he's very flashy in what he does. And he's, you know, he has the attention of everybody. Where Dan Stone is holding back and he's staying next to Connor McNanama or Nolan Egbert or whoever's in goal, and he's protecting them. When they are coming down the other team and they are coming and, you know, Connor McNanama is in one corner. Dan Stone is watching the other corner. He is in front of that net and he is watching the other corner. Yeah. And that, to me, it just shows that he's there to do his one duty of making sure that he's protecting his goalie. Yeah. Jesse, I think he's improved dramatically in the last several years. I mean, he just keeps stepping up. He's getting better and better. Even Dan Weber, he's stepped up a lot since last year, in my opinion. And he's just a fun one to watch. He truly is.
No, without a doubt. His emotion, the way he plays the game, it's very good. But, you know, again, sometimes defensemen don't get, you know, the hype that they probably should get because, you know, there's not a lot of assists, not a lot of goals, unless you're Dakota Bond. Which we do have to say, congratulations to Dakota, got his first goal in the APHL. The Royals that he plays on, I think they won their game like 7-3 or something, and he had one of the goals for the Royals in the APHL. So congratulations to Dakota. I saw that, and I wanted to make mention of that as well. This upcoming Thursday, again, like I said, we're going to give you our 5 things we're looking forward to, 5 things we're not looking forward to, and we will be talking about the roster. So that's what to look out for. Taylor, have fun at the races later on today here on a Sunday. She's going to go some races. You guys only got a few more weeks of these, right?
Yeah, I think pretty much Dirt Week, which is, you know, the opening night thing, but I'll at least be at the opening night. I can't speak for him. He's just silly. Well, so he'll be up for Dirt Week pretty much the whole week. But after that, it slows down dramatically. There are a couple big races left after that, and it depends. Usually it starts to kind of move south. There's a lot of big races that still happen south, but
Dirt Weeks, which you guys don't always go to, right?
No, he would like to. He wants to, you know, travel down. He would like to see the dirt on Bristol and that kind of stuff. But we haven't traveled that far yet.
The dirt on Bristol is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. It is. It is.
We did go to the NASCAR Hall of Fame when we were down. We took a trip to go see the Dale Earnhardt statue, and we went and took a trip to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. And he did get a pretty decent sized picture of Bristol with dirt on it, and he thought it was pretty cool. It's got all the haulers on it and everything. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I love NASCAR. It's one of the things I like to watch. But I know that you guys are really big on local racing, and I completely understand that, because local racing is really where a lot of these guys come from anyways, right? If you make it to NASCAR, you usually at some point went to a local track and you raced go-karts, or you raced midgets, or you raced sprint cars and those type of things. So local tracks are very, very important. And I know you guys are huge supporters of them, which is cool.
Well, even like outside of just the locals, I mean, there's a lot of NASCAR guys that are actually involved in dirt racing. There's actually a guy last night, Dale Blaney, who's related to
Ryan Blaney.
He actually flew out this morning to go be with Ryan, but he won a sprint car race last night for the first time in 10 years, and he's the oldest guy to do it. And the other oldest guy who had the record before him was his brother. Yeah,
which would be Dave Blaney, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So I know the Blaney. I know the history of the Blaneys a little bit. So that's kind of cool that that came up. Pretty cool. All right. The Power Play Post Show is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, and Amazon Music and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app. And don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. We want to get to 1,000 members before the start of the season. Just search Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey, just visit binghamtonhockey.net. Thank you to Rob Lapoulos, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, and from the Binghamton Black Bears, assistant coach Mason Esworthy. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And we'll talk to you guys next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.